Hey y'all, it's Jessica from Sloppy Swatches. Today I have a look at the Cast to Spell box. This is a collaboration between 7 really big Harry Potter fans. I will link all of the makers' social media as well as their websites down below, and also the website where you can buy this box specifically. So this will be releasing on July 31st in honor of Harry Potter's birthday, and will retail at $53 plus shipping. I was sent my box in exchange for a review, so I'll go ahead and get right into it. So first up is a polish from Never Enough Polish. This is Sectum Sempra. It's described as a blood red hollow with red sparkle and a red shift. So you guys know that I absolutely adore red polishes. This is a gorgeous red hollow. I'm going to go ahead and show you a brush shot and then show you how Sectum Sempra swatched on my natural nail. I will forever and always mention that I absolutely adore the brush on the Never Enough polishes. They just go perfectly for my nail shape, and I was able to do a very gorgeous first coat here with 3 strokes. It did go on nice and smooth, really even. It was just a tiny bit sheer here though, so I'm going to go ahead and let that dry and then show you how it builds up in a second coat. So here's a look at that second coat. I'm not going too thick or too thin here, just a nice normal coat. It did definitely bump up that opacity, and I would say that this is really close to full coverage. I do have very hard nail lines, and I had just a tiny flash left there. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how this builds up for me with a third coat. So this third coat does definitely bring this one completely opaque. I also feel like it does deepen up the finish a little bit, so I definitely prefer this polish at 3 coats. So here's a look at that completed mani at 3 coats before a glossy top coat underneath artificial lighting. This does dry down to a beautiful, almost metallic-like sheen plus all of that hollow. Here's a view from another angle in direct sunlight with a glossy top coat. This is my swatch photo under that artificial lighting, and then once more at an angle again in that direct sunlight. So next up is the offering from Stashed Polish. This is my first stashed in my collection, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you I was really impressed with this polish. This is called Avada Kedavra, and it's in a mossy green base with a ton of hollow as well as maybe some metallic green glow in there. I'll go ahead and show you a brush shot, and I'll show you how Avada Kedavra swatched on my natural nail. So here's a look at that first easy coat. This one is seriously pigmented, and one really careful coat, I think for sure that you can get this one completely opaque. This feels like one of those polishes that you can just grab if you're in a rush, put on your nails, and then not have to worry about fighting the formula. So that being said, I am going to go ahead and let this dry and then show you how it builds up with a second coat. I do want to mention really quickly that this does dry down completely matte. Those glitters are going to add a little bit of texture also, but 2 coats I do feel like does amp up that glow a little bit. So here's a look at that completed mani at 2 coats before a glossy top coat underneath artificial lighting. The finish here is beautiful. There's nothing wrong with this, but a glossy top coat almost transformed this into a completely different polish. So here's a view from another angle in direct sunlight with a glossy top coat. This is my swatch photo underneath artificial lighting, and then finally once more at an angle in that direct sunlight. So next up is a polish from Blue Eyed Girl Lacquer. This is Fontana Duri, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys that I did have to Google that name. I didn't remember it, so you almost need to revoke my Potter card. But this is described as an icy blue crelly with a fine green shimmer and medium copper shimmer. So I'll go ahead and show you a brush shot, and I'll show you how Fontana Duri swatched on my natural nail. So here's a look at that first coat. This one does have a bit of a crelly formula. So what that means is it's a little bit thicker and also maybe a little bit more sheer. It did go on a tiny bit streaky here with this first coat, but I did get a good feel for that gold shimmer on the nail. I'll go ahead and let that dry and then show you how it built up for me with a second coat. So here's a look at that second coat. I am going to go in a little bit thicker with this polish to help build up the opacity. I was almost completely opaque here in 2 coats. I did have still a little bit of streaking and maybe some low spots. I definitely do recommend giving this one some time to dry. It got a little bit thick on my nails here, but it is beautiful and definitely worth it for the finish. So I'll let that dry, and then here's a look at that third and final coat. This one just smooths everything right out and brings this one to complete coverage. That shimmer does dull down a little bit, so this is going to dry down semi-matte. I definitely do recommend a good glossy top coat. Again, that's really going to help amp up that shimmer or glow. So here's a look at that completed mani at 3 coats before a glossy top coat underneath my artificial lighting. You can see this is a very blue icy color. Here's a view from another angle in direct sunlight with a top coat. This is my swatch photo underneath artificial lighting, and then finally once more at an angle again in that direct sunlight. So next up is Expecto Patronum, and this is from Cupcake Polish. This is described as an almost denim blue color hollow with heavy silver shimmers and silver flakies. So this is such a perfect representation for me of Expecto Patronum. I do want to mention really quickly that when I got my bottle in, it seemed like the base had separated a little bit, but a good shake fixed that completely. So here's a look at that brush shot, and I'll show you how Expecto Patronum swatched on my natural nail. So here's a look at that first coat. I do feel like this one is in a bit more of a jelly base, but because it is so jam-packed with glitters and amazingness here, it made for amazing coverage in one coat. I did end up going in a little bit thicker here, so if you go in for thinner, you may definitely need more. I'm going to go ahead and let that dry and then show you how it builds up for me with a second coat. I do recommend the second coat to help bump up that opacity and add even more of those gorgeous silver flakies, but for sure this is completely opaque in 2 easy coats. It's not gritty at all or anything like that. I know it has a lot of glitters and shimmer going on in there, but it was really smooth and really easy to apply. So here's a look at that completed mani at 2 coats before a glossy top coat underneath artificial lighting. So not much going on in the way of texture, but again, I do definitely recommend a nice glossy top coat. It's going to help bring out all of the elements. So here's a view from another angle in direct sunlight with a top coat. This is my swatch photo underneath artificial lighting, and then finally once more at an angle again in that direct sunlight. So the last polish I have today is Dillons, and this is from Night Owl Lacquer. This is described as a dark purple with chameleon shimmer that shifts from red to violet to blue, as well as silver hollow shreds and crystal rainbow flakies. So such a gorgeous deep purple polish. I'll go ahead and show you a brush shot, and I'll show you how Dillons swatched on my natural nail. So here's a look at that first easy coat. This one is definitely in a jelly base, which means it's going to be a little bit more sheer, but you're going to get a ton of depth out of it. I did end up going in a little bit thinner with this coat than I usually do, so I did get a good, nice, even coverage here, but it is quite sheer. So I'll let that dry and then show you how it builds up with a second coat. So here's a look at my second coat. I am definitely meaning to go in for a little bit of a thicker second coat here and also clean up my lines a little bit. 2 coats for sure adds a ton of depth. I feel like if you work in thicker coats, you may be able to get away with 2. I am going to go ahead and let that dry and then show you how it built up for me with a third coat. So here's a look at my third and final coat. Again, I did go in a little bit thicker, but I absolutely love the depth that you get in 3 coats. It is my recommended way to wear this polish. It's really smooth, really easy to apply. I had no problems manipulating the flakies, and they kind of spread out perfectly on their own. So here's a look at that completed mani at 3 coats before a glossy top coat underneath artificial lighting. Not a lot going on in texture here. Maybe if you get some larger flakies, you may want to even that out. It did dry down a little bit dull, so I do recommend a glossy top coat. So there's a view from another angle in direct sunlight with a top coat. This is my swatch photo underneath artificial lighting, and then finally at an angle in that direct sunlight. I am loving those hollow shreds in there. So next up in this box will be a butterbeer scented cuticle oil. This is from Lily Ann's Garden. This is my first product to try from her. You did get a good amount in this bottle. It is a roll cap, which I'm not super familiar with. I do prefer like the brushes or even the droppers, but this one works really well. I'm going to go ahead and show you how it applies right around the cuticles there. I know a lot of you guys ask how I get my nails so long. Definitely, I think that moisturizing with a good cuticle oil is a good part of any good nail regimen. Once I have it there on my cuticles, I do like to rub these in. I also do like to put some of that underneath my nail. I think you can go in with a brush just right around that roll cap, get some on a brush, and then fan it underneath your nail for good moisturization. I do love the scent. It smells like toffees and everything amazing and just warm and fall, and I am about that. So in this box, you'll also get one of 5 different patterns of vinyl stickers. These are from Rivet Stickets. I think I'm planning on sticking mine on my car. I'll let you know definitely in the description or my blog post how that works out, but I am super happy that I got this HP one. You'll also get nail vinyls. So this is some of the cutest nail vinyls I've seen. They do have a clear backing. It's not white, so you don't have to worry about it interrupting anything that you put it over. I will definitely be featuring these in some nail art. So here's a live view so you can get more of an idea of the size of the decals. I think these are definitely going to work for a wide range of nail sizes. There are definitely some smaller images in there that are going to work great. This box does come with instructions on how to use both the vinyl and the nail stickers. So that does wrap up my swatch and review of the Cast a Spell box. I'm so excited to share this with you guys. If you'd like to see more photos, I do have those available on my blog at sloppyswatches.com. Again, these will be available starting on July 31st at the castaspell.bigcartel link. I'll leave that down in the description box. If you'd like, you can also follow me on Instagram. So thanks so much for watching, guys. See you next time.